So now let's talk about some production challenges that you may come across and exactly how you can tackle them. So broadly speaking, we have technical difficulties, scheduling issues, and post-production issues. So let's tackle each one of them step by step. First of all, technical difficulties are bound to happen, specifically if this is your first time, whether it's for you, your first time, or your guest, whether it's their first time. And so in this case, it's always good to have a backup plan and have a guest checklist. What that means is that as you start to create these episodes, or even if you wanted to create a mock test episode internally just to go through the motions and see what's likely to come up, you can basically go ahead and create a checklist based on that you can go through with your guest every single time. And a checklist is just there to make sure that you remember every single item, whether it's from your side or from your guest side. And as far as having a backup plan is concerned, many of today's recording tools allow built-in backup options where it'll still at least record the audio only, or it will record video but at a lower resolution for certain segments if it needs to be. But this all depends on the method of recording that you're going to be following. One thing that we've experimented with before and we've advised our guests to do before is if you're going to be using something like Google Hangouts or Zoom, you can actually have QuickTime running as well in the background to record your video locally and have your guest do the same thing, such that if anything drops in the actual recorded conversation, you both still have your original video feeds that you can send, or rather that they can send to you. As for scheduling, it is very common for guests to cancel or reschedule at the last minute, specifically if you're just starting out and specifically if the show is not that yet well known. So go in with this mindset that these things do happen and make it easy for them to reschedule, make it easy for them to book in another slot. One way that you could do that if you're using Calendly or something like a HubSpot meeting link is you can enable the option that allows your guests to directly reschedule a slot if they can't make a certain slot. And you can communicate that with the guests ahead of time that if anything happens, that they give you a certain window of notice and that they directly reschedule at a time that suits them better. You may also find some post-production issues that might come up, and these usually stem from making the process more complex than it needs to be. So in the repurposing course, we're going to be talking a lot more about how you can build a very simple workflow that you can apply to every episode so that you could very systematically and very predictably get usable, evergreen content that is engaging for your audience to see at the end.